Friends, before we begin the service, we shall perform a very ancient ritual which is called Kriya in the Hebrew language. Since the biblical times, whenever our ancestors would receive sad news, including those of the passing of a loved one, they would tear their clothes and put a dust upon the head as a sign of mourning. And the custom of rending our garment when the close relative passes away, we have retained in our community to this day. Therefore, this time I would like to ask the children of the deceased, Jeffrey, Stephen, and Pauline. No, you can do it yourselves. Just make, or Jeff, you can help. Pauline. Make a vertical tear on the ribbon that was given to you. I mean, traditionally you do it yourself, actually. So, yes, yeah, not all the way. That's good. Okay. That's good. Right. And there is a blessing that we recite. Well, Jeffrey needs some help, so can you make it, Jeffrey? Okay. You got it. No, just do it for you. Yeah, sometimes it does become complicated. I had those too. And there is a blessing that we recite. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan emet. Blessed be Lord our God, ruler of the universe, judge of truth. Amen. A long time ago, in one yeshiva in Eastern Europe, there were two young men. And they were studying, the process of the studying Talmud, studying the Torah, of course under the supervision of their teacher, an older rabbi. And there was an argument that erupted between these two young, very passionate people. They were discussing the following question: who made the best translation of the Torah? One of them said that, oh, there is this German professor, he is the best expert on the biblical grammar, so his translation is the most accurate one. The other one was saying, no, there is a rabbi in one of the Lithuanian yeshivas. He understands the inner logic of the scripture better than anybody else, so his translation is the best. And so the discussion went on and on and on until the old rabbi got tired of that conversation. He interrupted them and said, well, you are both wrong. Do you know who made the best translation of the Torah? He said, my mother, and your mother, and your mother. Because mother translates the Torah for you not from the book. She translates it from your heart. Every day that she's with you, every moment that she's with you. Now this sounds very elegant to me. It's a beautiful idea. But in our tradition, we do not say anything unless we can back it up with the authoritative text. So the young men, understandably enough, asked the rabbi, where did you get that? And to their astonishment, the old man quoted the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, verse 8, which clearly states, listen to the teaching of your father and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. There we go. It is the mother that translates Torah for us. Now today, my friends, we're here to honor a woman who made a fantastic, a beautiful translation of the Torah. You all agree with me. You know that better than I do, how Bette translated the Torah. It was really from the heart, in everything that she did, and how she did it. She did it wholeheartedly, and she always did it all the way. And that is how Bette lived. And this is her legacy too. Do not spare efforts. Give it to you. Give to it your all, and do it with your entire heart, with your whole heart. Now, how do we make that translation? How do we make the translation of the Torah? Well, in the course of our lives, of course, that's pretty obvious. And we also know that in life we go through everything. We go through good times and bad times. We go through pleasure, we go through pain, we go through profit, we go through loss. King Solomon discussed it in his other book, the book of Ecclesiastes, in chapter 3. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die. So, when we go through every event, every experience in our life, it is our duty to make it count, to make it meaningful. It is easy to make the pleasant ones, the fun ones count. It's much harder to make the challenging ones, the painful ones meaningful, but all the same, it is our duty to make them significant, to make them matter. And this is how we make our translation, step by step, experience by experience. The words of King Solomon, chapter 3, Kohelet. לכל זמן ועת לכל חפץ תחת השמיים, עת לרדת ועת למות, עת לדעת ועת לקור נטוע, עת לפרוץ ועת לבנות, עת לבכות ועת לשחוק, עת צפות ועת ריקות, עת להשליך אבנים ועת כנוס אבנים, עת לחבוק ועת לרחוק מהבן, עת לבקש ועת לאבד, עת לשמור ועת להשליך, עת לקרוא ועת לתפור, עת לחשות ועת לדבר. For everything there is a season and a time for every experience under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to discard. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. It is a time to speak, and it is a time to reflect on the translation of the Torah that Bette left for us. Well, she arrived in this world, well, I know when, but we're not going to discuss that. She was a lady, right? We're not going to talk about that. Right? I always say, women do not age and men never grow up. That's my line, by the way. That's my line.
So true.
I know, and women love that line too, so I know. Jeff, he never grew up. He's still a party boy, right? That's a good illustration, right? Yeah, there we go. Stephen didn't either. Jeff didn't. Right. So here's the thing about Bette. When I said she gave to life her all, and when I say she did everything wholeheartedly, what I meant by that is that she worked so hard. She was a true hero. I mean, I really do not know too many women, not in the United States anyway, who worked two jobs, two shifts, back to back, and at times three. When she worked at the Barnum Bagel, she would work the morning there, then she would go do the afternoon in the hotel, right? You know, morning hotel, the other way around. The morning, double tree in the morning. Barnum Bagel in the afternoon, and then there was a period of time when she did Dunkin' and Donuts, the night shift. Where did she sleep? And with all that, she found time for you. How did she do that? I mean, it's difficult to understand, but somehow she did. This is why she is a true hero, because you see, an act of valor, an act of heroism, doesn't have to happen in the course of the combat on a battlefield. It can happen in just a real life, and this is exactly what Bette did. She was a hero. She was a true hero for her children. Now, look, she worked all of her life as a secretary. Then, when she had a discount store together with Bernie, that was before your time, I think. Yeah. Oh, you remember that, Stephen? No, you can't remember. No. And then, as I said, she worked so hard as a mother to make sure their children are okay, that you have everything that other kids have. And again, that was the challenge that life threw her way, but she met that challenge. She has succeeded in that. She won that battle. She won that battle. Because you have everything that, and more, you had more than other kids had, because somehow your house wasn't the fanciest one in the neighborhood, but it was the most fun one. It was the one that every kids wanted to come to and wanted to have a good time. And that brings me to my next point. Bette had that gift. She could make you feel good. She could make you feel special. In fact, at work, she was a star of the customer service. She was a genius of the customer service. And interesting enough, she never learned anything about it. She just was that way. Because again, she always did it from her heart. So people at work at the DoubleTree Hotel, she worked at Hilton. So I guess it is on the record. She had the most comments of all the Hilton employees in the world. Positive ones, for that matter. This is how customers loved her. And your friends, every time they would visit you, they loved her. They loved her. Because she was fun, she was cool, and she made you feel good. You feel good, your friends feel good. And she also was a, well, Jeff, I will take liberty and quote you. She was a bit of a rebel, in a way, because she did things in her own unique fashion. So we can safely say Betty rocked, you know, in her own unique way. First of all, she had she had her really unique, unusual hobbies. Usually, men have those hobbies. She was a collector. Women rarely. She collected coins. Right? She collected cards. She had all kinds of cool things. Now, and by the car that she drove, you can tell she was groovy. She That was the Beetle, the Volkswagen. That's the grooviest car in the world, right? She had this immense, fantastic sense of humor. She had this great spirit about her, and again, it was part of her charming personality. And again, we live in the world where we often underestimate the significance of humor and laughter. Psychologists and psychiatrists teach us that laughter has a tremendous healing power, that it truly has a tremendous therapeutic value. And again, Betty didn't need to read those books to understand that. All she needed to do is to be herself, and she could make her day better, but by just laughing with you, but just make you feel good and having a good time with you. And this is how it was. And she was a tremendous optimist. I'll just give you an example. Already at the in the course of the last months, when she was already not well, her health was declining. She wanted to make it to 85. She did, and this is how it is. Because 85 is better than 84, and she made it. This is how she was. Again, the strength of spirit, perseverance, wholeheartedness, and of course tremendous love. Because you cannot do all those things without love. Like first and foremost, love for her family. Now, as I mentioned, Betty was married to Bernie Alaba Shalom, who passed away in 1985, if I'm not mistaken. So passed away prematurely, way before his time. But she was a very, very devoted, very loving wife. They were married, as we were trying to calculate, like 24 years. You guys correct me, something like that. But more than 20 years, right? See, you don't know Stephen either, right? So, right. Now, God blessed Betty with 3 wonderful children, and it is a spiritual duty of every parent to raise a good kid. We know that. Now, when our children grow up and when they succeed, we are proud. Succeed in what? In their career, in their wealth. Yes, those are good things. We are proud. But our mission is complete only when the moment arrives. And I tell myself, my son, my daughter, grow up to be a good human being. This is my mission. And Betty was rightfully proud of your children, Jeffrey, Stephen, and Paulette. And again, she had a greater challenge than most other parents do. For a lengthy period of time, it was all on her. She did it. Now, Stephen's married to Dawn, and Paulette's married to Jeff, and both of you are very dear to her heart. And of course, her wonderful grandchildren, Darian, Jack, Ben, and Dylan. And she was a grandmother that truly took a great delight in her grandchildren. I loved to babysit them too. Again, it was a very unusual affair, shall we put it this way, and all the same, memorable, right? Memorable and very enjoyable time. And she was given to the very end. She didn't have millions of dollars at all, and yet she always wanted to give something to the grandkids, to the grandsons. Or $20, $100, whatever it was, it didn't matter. But she always wanted to give, whatever it is, whatever it was, whatever she had to make them feel good. I also would like to acknowledge that Betty had a brother, Ron. May God grant him good health and long life. So at this time, my friends, we will continue to reflect on the translation of the Torah that Betty made for us through the thoughts and reminiscences of her loved ones. I know that Paulette and Jeff wanted to share with us a few thoughts.
This was not easy to write. I wanted to say how she took me to all those lessons, had my dance teacher take me to the ballet and the opera, had Becky's family take me to New York to see Cats on Broadway, hosted my friends and was a second mom to them, trays of brownies, hot dogs wrapped in crescent dough, macaroni and cheese, Mr. J's. Adventure was her middle name. She was determined to show me the life that she never had. As I got older, I realized more and more, yes, everyone loved having me, but my mom carefully orchestrated all of it so I could see it all and see the world. But it was all too much for me. I got overwhelmed writing it. It took me so long. So there's too many good stories. She was simply the best. So I wrote this instead. My mom loved, adored, and cherished me every moment of my life. She really was amazed that I was her daughter. She thought the world of me, and every time I got dressed up, she would say, "You really missed the boat." In her eyes, I was her very own movie star. I would laugh, but the truth is, it feels good to make someone so proud, to light up someone's life like I lit up hers. She deserved it. To feel that feeling, to be truly treasured, is a gift that I'll carry with me forever. She gave that same gift to my boys. You were the light of her life, beyond her pride and joy, her whole heart. She always told me how lucky I am to have 3 good kids, and of course, she was so happy that you're handsome. She taught Jack how to make the perfect scrambled eggs. She asked Ben how tall he was every single time she saw him. And she loved saying, "How's my dill boy?" They all have the same work ethic and kindness as my mom. What a legacy. Mom, I loved our special relationship. You were always there for Jeff, Stephen, and me. You worked so hard your entire life for all of us. Thank you for being the best mom and a special, magical person. You made everyone you came in contact with feel like a superstar. Your customer service was beyond compare. You were a customer service genius. You got people to tell you about themselves, and you were interested, and you made them feel good about themselves. You lifted people up and impacted their day. You were a character and never lost your sense of humor. A few years ago, after a fall, she was in the intensive care unit and they told her daughter was here. She said, "Who?" "Who's Paulette?" It was quite alarming after a fall, and then she laughed and everybody loved it. The nurses and the doctors. I didn't love it so much. Mom, I want you to know I'm okay. You were always worried about that, and you prepared me for this. I'm okay. Jeff and Stephen are okay. Jeff and the kids are okay. We're all okay. I am your daughter. I am tough. I will take care of everyone, and I will carry on your strength. I am who I am because of you, and I'm forever grateful. You did it. You made it to 85, and it was a beautiful life well lived. You'll be missed by all, but in our hearts forever and ever. We all love you so much. Rest in peace. Bring kindness and smiles to your new place.
Beautiful, Paula.
What a beautiful day.
Yes.
Okay. So, when I first met Betty 25 years ago, a couple things immediately stood out. As the rabbi mentioned, she was a collector. As a guy, I was always intrigued by the sports memorabilia, the coins, the Beanie Babies, the magazines, the toy figures, the cars. I always thought it was pretty cool, and she always had an article or a news story to tell me about. It was also really cool that she was a car girl. She loved driving, and she loved her car. There are too many stories to share about Betty. I'm sure we'll all reminisce when we can. But one great example is that she made sure Paulette had the coolest convertible muscle car in high school. It was a convertible 71 Cutlass, even though she was working 3 cars. Somehow Paulette had the coolest car ever. Speaking of jobs, early on in the relationship, we often ate at Barnum and Bagel, and it was really cool to see not only how Betty was the customer service specialist, but everyone knew her. Even the teachers that worked at my dad's school, everyone knew Betty. She was kind of a big deal in Skokie. And I would actually visit her at the Hilton. Paulette and I met there, and whenever Bazaar was doing a party there, I would go see her, and she would always show me the customer comment cards, and she was just so proud about it, and you know, it was just cool that she was so good at it. So part of her life success comes from the fact that she was a brilliant actress. She knew how to make everyone feel special, so much so that I stand here today, I still feel like I'm the best son-in-law in the universe, and that's because that's how she introduced me to everyone, to the best nurse ever, to the best waitress ever, to the best rabbi ever. She just knew how to do it. And again, it seemed authentic and genuine. As Paulette and I had kids, Betty was around a lot, especially when I worked. We have a lot of video of her playing with you guys. She loved being your grandma. She would do anything for you. When Dawn and I think of our grandparents, we always talk about food. Her trips taking you guys to IHOP, McDonald's, bringing you guys KFC and yellow rice. These are acts of love and kindness, and you'll always remember them. On special occasions like a graduation, she would always ask me how much money to give. Again, she didn't have a lot of money to give. I would give an amount that was very reasonable, and she would say, no, give them more. And she always wanted to hand it to you herself. She wanted you to know that she would give you the shirt off her back. Over time, I found Betty to be quite a character and extremely funny. She loved, as Paulette illustrated, to play dumb. And she loved to get Paulette mad. When she got to play her part in Dylan's video montage, she nailed it. She also told me I missed my calling and Paulette, but the irony is I truly think that Betty missed hers. Another great example is when we demanded, this is towards the end, we demanded that she would answer her phone when she would call, and we told her if she doesn't answer the phone, we're gonna call 911. And I'll remember she wasn't answering, and Paulette was so mad, and I'm like, are we really calling 911? And Paulette's like, we're calling 911. And we called 911 to do a check on her, and the officer called us like 15 minutes later to say not only was Betty totally fine, she's making them macaroni and cheese and showing them all the pictures all over her house. In later years, when she couldn't drive, I'm almost done, I would often pick her up and drop her off, and this was probably like the most special time I had, because we used to have these like private conversations, and it was pretty real, and I could learn about her life, and I would ask her questions, and then she would answer them, and then she would pause and she'd say, why did you ask me that? And I told her I loved her and I wanted to know her story. And I found out things like she had a sister who passed away and dealt with some tragedy. I found out that she really was a rebel in her day, and a lot of that had to deal with cars and driving. Most of the stories, though, centered around the Golden Gate stores and how she helped Bernie run them. It would be kind of cool to wonder what it would be like to see that in action. In the end, I would be driving to visit her, and I would tell a friend I'm on my way to visit Betty, and you know, one of my friends would often say to me, that can't be fun. And the truth is that visiting her, it never really bothered me. I actually had fun with her. Sometimes I would read to her. Sometimes we would just stare at some random game show that was on, and sometimes I just helped her remember things, and that was probably the most fun I had with her. But no matter what, whenever I left, no matter where her mind was that day, she would always say the same thing to me, and it'll stick with me forever. She would say, thanks for coming, kid. I appreciate it. You're the best son-in-law.
Beautiful. Beautiful, both of them.
My dear friends, today is the day when, following our tradition, we say to Bette, Lachiva Shalom, go forth in peace. The time has come, the Almighty One has summoned her. We also know that the angels in heaven are greeting you with the words, Boiva Shalom. She will join in Bernie there, and together they will petition God on our behalf. because this is what we believe in our tradition. But most importantly, the translation of the Torah that Bette made for us, that will stay here. That will stay here with us, and Jeffrey and Stephen and Paulette will be carrying on that legacy for their lives and making this world better by following those values, living in accordance with those values that your wonderful mother has left for you. So may Bette's memory be a blessing upon all of us. We shall now honor Bette's memory with a moment of silence, and it will be followed by Kaddish. Please join me. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'hayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei dachol Beit Israel, v'agala uv'zman karev v'imru amen. Yeh shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. שמי דגודשה ברכו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש לה מראה במין שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. Amen. Friends, we shall now proceed with the interment, and the cemetery staff, our friends Bob and Mike, will now lower the casket into the place of eternal rest of our dear Bette. When they will close the lid of the vault, then the completion of the burial will follow. In the meantime, Bill, do you have a knife by any chance? Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Yes, I'm going to have the children. In the meantime, my friends, we'll have an opportunity to place some earth into the place of eternal rest of dear Bette. This earth is taken from Har-Hazeitim, from the Mount of Olives, which is located in Jerusalem. At least that's what the package says, anyway. So. Well, the phone number here has 718 area code. That's Brooklyn. Brooklyn. I don't know. But Brooklyn is even more Jewish than Israel, so that counts. That counts. Be it as it may, the Mount of Olives is located just east of the Temple Mount, and the Temple Mount is the most sacred place in our tradition. And it's taller, the Mount of Olives is, that is, and a very dramatic view can be had from it of the Temple Mount. And also we have probably the most ancient Jewish cemetery that is still functional, located on the Mount of Olives. In fact, the prophet Zechariah is believed to be buried there. And in the book of Zechariah in the Bible, we find that the Mount of Olives plays a very prominent part. Finally, there are many beliefs associated with that place. And one of them is that when the end of times occurs and the Messiah arrives, there will be a resurrection of the dead, and people who are buried in the land, in the earth of the Mount of Olives will be the first ones to rise back to life. So to symbolize burial in the land of Israel and of the Mount of Olives, I would like to invite now Jeffrey, Stephen, and Paulette to come forward and place the little earth into the place of eternal rest. Just sprinkle it out of the package. Okay? Here we go. Sprinkle a little bit and leave some for Jeffrey, and then Stephen will come.
Stephen?
I'm going to sprinkle a little bit. Anybody else?
How about Jeff and Zohan?
Oh, guys, come forward and take part.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Because you see, because we're living through a very,
Hold on your
you know,
hand.
Yeah, we'll enter at a very specific moment. We're not going to be able to shovel the regular earth. So if you want to place some earth into the grave, this is the only opportunity you have.
I'm just doing a sprinkle. Yes, he's on here.
Yeah, it's a little bit breezy. Well, that's why I wanted it to lower the casket first.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes.
the sand would be flying over. Yeah, and then just the rest in the back too. In the back, yeah, drop it up. Yeah, drop it. Right, now we need to step back so that. Mike.
Maybe John, you can go home. What? Oh, next.
When it's 70.
Them at 70. Okay.
I'll be back.
You heard the cute story. Yeah.
Got it.
The lid goes on. Huh? Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we keep it in this embedded spirit. You know what I mean? So. And I enjoyed your remarks, both of you guys. I mean, you're really good.
We're available.
And you really got, well, that's good. You got the essence of Priscilla.
Right, okay, I got you.
Well, that's the whole thing, to capture the spirit. Right? That's what you want. Well, I mean, I met her briefly, obviously.
Yeah.
That was a great story, wasn't it? I mean,
All those communities that aren't just. It wasn't so fun when it happened.
well, not to them it wasn't.
Now it's a story that will
Right,
live forever.
it's right. You're right. It's one of those stories that isn't funny when they happen,
Right.
and then a couple of years later you remember them, you know, with a laugh.
When the police would call and say, no, she's fine, she's making us make
Well, hey, listen, to the police, it wasn't a bad deal at all. I mean, I'm sure they were not in a hurry to leave. To get to some, run down the clock on the shift, you know, you get a little bit fortified with calories and.
For my mom, but it's a nice casket. She would love it. We have to laugh.
And she's by the tree. I mean,
She would love the casket. She would love the casket.
It was the best.
Are we off the camera?
not yet.
Oh.
The you can build it.